2011, I was really incubating this idea around our kitchen table. My husband was running Barolo Grill as an employee, and we launched with $5,000 that I could not lose. I went to 100 schools, and 97 said I was crazy and out of my mind. But we got the three schools, and those three schools turned into 30 schools and 300 schools, and we ended up growing pretty quickly. Because of the success that Sticky Fingers Cooking had, we were then able to purchase Barolo Grill 10 years ago.
Is there a specific thing that came out of that difficult time that you want to distill to the listeners here to give them the perspective they need to find success?
So,
welcome to the Art of Kaizen for Entrepreneurs, growing 1% everyday podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Art of Kaizen for Entrepreneurs podcast, where we could discuss how to grow 1% every day in both business and itself. Today, we have EErin Fletter, the owner of Sticky Fingers Cooking School for Kids and Michelin-recognized restaurant Barolo Grill. Excited to talk with Erin about her journey with Barolo Grill, as well as her development of the one-of-a-kind National Kids Cooking School. Thank you, Erin, for joining me today.
thank you so much, Kyle.
And I got really excited starting off. I even messed up my name a little bit when we started this, just from the conversation we're having offline about kind of your development as an entrepreneur, you and your husband, and kind of the path that you guys have gone through and what you've done, not only to reach back into your roots and grab what connected you guys initially, but to create something that, I have a 1.5-year-old daughter, and to have something that you've developed that really focuses on bringing cooking and culinary to a young generation so that they learn early and be able to develop is so heartwarming for me, and I believe extremely powerful. Can you break down your story and start off at the very beginning and build up to where you are today of how you created this enterprise of what you developed as a business and how you've really become the entrepreneur you are today?
Yeah, I'd love to. So I'll start with the punchline. The punchline is that my husband and I both have let our passions drive us 100%. So really from the beginning, I moved to Denver, Colorado in 1996 from Southern California. And very quickly, I walked into this wonderful restaurant called Barolo Grill that was only about 2 years old. At the time, I sat down for a glass of wine. I locked eyes with my husband, who was essentially a busboy. He was a food runner. He was just turning 21. I was 23. And I don't know, 2 weeks later, we had the same bank account. But let's just say that it's been 29 years that we've just been together ever since creating wonderful magic together. So, we went on all these wonderful adventures. We got on our backpacks and went to Europe for almost a year together. We were very entrepreneurial, always wanting to start new businesses and have new ideas. We ended up having 3 daughters. We moved away. We came back to Denver at around 2002. And my husband went back to Barolo Grill, which is such a special place, such a special restaurant. I worked there for 5 years, and he became the general manager for about 12 years. And then during that time, our 3 daughters were growing up. I was introduced to after school enrichment. So I'm going to be kind of paralleling between both of our businesses. My husband was a restaurateur, restaurant manager, and I was juggling 3 kids. I could not have a traditional job. Kyle, we talked a little bit about your background and you growing up in your father's restaurants. Being in the restaurant industry as a spouse and having a family in the restaurant industry is really challenging. It's not your typical traditional 9 to 5 job. You don't have weekends. You don't have many holidays. So it's a bit of a challenge. And we had 3 daughters at home, and I really couldn't have a traditional job. So I was introduced to after school enrichment programming through our own kids. And that's where kids are at school. They stay after school and they take a class that they're interested in. It could be Taekwondo. It could be Lego engineering. It could be art. It could be a foreign language. And I was just enamored with the idea. It was, first of all, it's such a good thing for kids. Such a good thing for kids to be able to be curious about something and try new things while they're at school. And then it's wonderful for working parents because you have an extra hour or so in your day before you need to pick them up. You know that they're safe in school. And then I put my entrepreneurial brain on and went, wait a second. If I can figure this out, this could scale really, really well and very quickly. Keep in mind, we don't have a brick and mortar. You have almost like a little restaurant outlets in every school in your community. And I thought, wow, this could be amazing. I wanted to focus on cooking because that's my passion. I grew up traveling the world. I love food. I love sharing food. Food is my love language. I love cooking. So I was during, 2011, I was really incubating this idea around our kitchen table. My husband was running Barolo Grill as an employee, and we launched with $5,000 that I could not lose. My husband, we took it out of our savings account where we bootstrapped Sticky Fingers Cooking, and it was a traditional entrepreneur story that you hear all the time. I went to a hundred schools, and 97 said I was crazy and out of my mind. But we got the three schools, and those three schools turned into 30 schools and 300 schools, and we ended up growing pretty quickly. And because of the success that Sticky Fingers Cooking had, we were then able to purchase Barolo Grill 10 years ago. So now we're proud owners of Barolo Grill. So really, my husband and I have both led our businesses with a hospitality heart. And Sticky Fingers Cooking, we are a cooking school for kids, teaching kids everything from math and science and global cultures through our thousands of recipes. And we've taught 200,000 kids plus how to cook. And we do it all with gratitude and with hospitality. And my husband leads his restaurant in the same way.
And starting off with just a beautiful story, right? Just the process of you guys falling in love underneath one house of this Barolo Grill, and then you guys going out and finding your passions, and then obviously taking care of a house and taking care of a family is the most difficult thing. As a new father, I've realized now that I could not pay to have someone like my wife that could take care of my child the way she is. It's a undefinable amount of value that comes from you just being there. But as you said, you want to do more and you wanted to be an entrepreneur. I could imagine a lot of mothers out there with an entrepreneurial mindset resonating with that story. But to go from a challenge and bring it into an opportunity that you really flourish with is such a powerful story and such a beautiful story at that. I'd love to dive a little bit more into a real understanding of the process that it took you to get that business off the ground. And I'm assuming the process of is that the Sticky Fingers Cooking School is what brought in the revenue to actually purchase Barolo. Is that how the process went?
To some degree, yes. I mean, it did alleviate, it did help our financial situation for sure.
And was it built off pure sweat equity? Was it just such a good idea and concept? Because I'm right with you. I think the fact that I was raised in a kitchen by my family gave me the work ethic that I need. It gave me kind of the structural operational mindset that I need to kind of put things into place as a mise en place and really be able to understand what it takes to be successful out there. And I couldn't agree with you more. It's such a good quality to teach young kids. And it's a great product for sure. But was the product that really took off, or was it a lot of sweat equity that put on your side? What allowed that business to really flourish once you've gotten the idea and the proof of concept with those first three schools?
Yeah, well, like to what you're speaking about is pure grit, right? It takes a lot of grit, it takes a lot of focus. And it was really about doing one thing exceptionally well. So we didn't try to do anything except for cook with kids. Parents aren't allowed. We don't, like I said, we don't have a brick and mortar. We go to schools, summer camps, community centers, and we only cook with kids. So, I've always been somebody that thinks outside the box, somebody that's very creative. I'm always thinking 2 years in advance. I like to have that big, bold, grand vision. And so there was a lot of constraints. There was a lot of things at the beginning of saying like, this is impossible. You cannot do this. I mean, we're teaching kids to make food from scratch in a classroom without a kitchen. We bring in a portable cooking kit. We have hundreds of chef instructors. We have thousands of classes every month. And it's a large operation with a lot of reasons why it shouldn't work. But it absolutely does. And, with how to create a new recipe every single week. That's what we do. We've never repeated a recipe. And the kids are cooking Ethiopian food. They're cooking German food one week. They're Mongolian food one week. South American food. It's like all over the globe. So there is a lot of out of the box thinking. There is a lot of simplification. One of my favorite words is simple. And I think it gets a bad rap, but you cannot get to simple without a lot of complexity. And you have to figure out the simplest way to make a system or a process happen. So that's what I did from the very beginning. Something that's really interesting is that so I started in 2011. Around 2012, it got to be pretty large, and there wasn't any white labeled technology software out there that would help us organize our rosters or have signups. I mean, this is not that long ago. And so we started developing our own technology. So we're also a tech company, which now, and that is something that is a huge differentiator for us. It now holds all of our IP. We're a logistics company. We're now a franchise brand as well. And so it operates about 85% of our day-to-day operation. And that's an entire separate arm of our company, our sister company.
Truly defining the process of breaking down walls. I love that, right? There was no program to help kids cook. You developed that. Your program started getting too large. You didn't have the IT to support it. You built that. And then in that process, just that love story of going back to where you and your husband first met and being able to purchase that restaurant. Today I still think about going back and purchasing my old family restaurant that actually was defunct in upstate New York. And I'm like, man, the knowledge that I have today, if I was able to go back and purchase that, what I could actually do to build that business. So I want to dive into a little bit more of you as an entrepreneur and your story and the development. All of us as entrepreneurs, we start our businesses because we see a problem in the world that we're looking to solve. And in the hospitality industry, I think there's many, many problems. When you look at this industry, going from everything from teaching kids to running the day-to-day restaurant, what are you really looking to show the world? And what are you looking to fix in the hospitality industry through the activities that you do every day in your school as well as your restaurant?
Yeah, great question. I love that question. I'm going to start with the restaurant, actually. Barolo Grill is very unique. You don't see a lot of restaurants that last a decade, let alone three and over 3 decades. And so we're pleased that we're celebrating our we've already celebrated our 32nd anniversary. And one of the reasons that the restaurant is so successful is because of hospitality. It's also because it was thinking we I have always thought outside of the box when it comes to this restaurant. We're only open for 5 dinners every week. So we're not, which if any other restaurant would like they can't even believe it. But it was very important for the founder and for Ryan and I, who now own the restaurant, to have a work-life balance for employees. So we don't have 2 staffs, we don't have 3 staffs. We have one staff of people that run the restaurant. And they all make a substantial amount of money that they can live on here in Denver. It is something that the guests know that if they come to Barolo Grill, they're going to get the best experience possible. We lead with hospitality, good food, good wine. And so really not only treating your guests as gems, but your employees as gems as well. And that mentality really helped form Sticky Fingers Cooking, because my husband and I both have the philosophy that we do not want to start a business that we wouldn't want to work in every single day. And so that's how I started Sticky Fingers Cooking. I was thinking, okay, how can I do this? I wanted this to grow because we're a social enterprise. What we do is really important. We teach kids essential life skills about food and the world and everything that you can through cooking. I wanted to be able to have the people that work with us choose how they work with us. So I founded Sticky Fingers Cooking with all of my friends and my neighbors. And most of them are moms. Most of them are all women. And we just kind of forged this path together, really the way our executive team works and our leadership team works, we don't, if you want to take a vacation, you take a vacation. We don't have this corporate mentality. We have a team mentality. And again, it leads to hospitality. That's how all of our communication, whether it's with our students or our chef instructors or all of our parents or schools that we work with, it's all with a grateful heart with very positive messaging.
Erin, you can hear the charisma and the overall energy just coming from you of how excited and how much you love both of these businesses. But the real thing that I want the listeners, the entrepreneurs and business owners listening to this right now, really want them to take in is the trickle down effect that you have. The fact that you care so much for the first person next to you, which are the employees, and then how that trickles down to the customers, how that trickles down into the referral, how that trickles down throughout the entire business. And I think so many people miss that mark. They think that they can just fire their employees and find another one. I can find anybody else for 15 bucks an hour or whatever it might be. But the problem is it's very hard to find people that will love your business the way that you do. And if you treat them the right way, they're not going to ever work as hard as you do. It's just impossible to find, right? But they could potentially love the business as much as you do if you give them the opportunity to do so. And you guys do some magical stuff with the employees at Barolo. Can you break that down a little bit of kind of how you guys treat them, how you develop an ambiance with that team, how you really create that team mentality?
Yes. You know, my husband and I both believe in paying people well for what they do. You know, you can't do anything in this world alone. Whether you're in a family, whether you're an employee, or especially if you're trying to run a business, you know, you need to have a team behind you, and you need to have a team that you trust and that you honor as well. You know, paying people well is number one, and honoring what they need in their life for their family as well is really, really important. You know, making sure that that core values and your mission statement is something that just kind of leads you the entire way um, through your day to day. And your customers, you know, you might not be able to. I'm at the stage where I do not know all of our students, and I want to ensure that all of our students feel as taken care of as the kids that I teach personally in Sticky Fingers cooking classes. And in order to do that, you have to lead by example, and it completely filters down to your staff. There's just no way around it. You know, something that's really interesting also about Barolo Grill is that we've never done any advertising. It has all been really word of mouth. You know, we get some organic PR stories, things like that, but it's all been word of mouth. We haven't spent $1 on marketing. There's been no advertisement. For Sticky Fingers Cooking, for all of our classes, we also don't rely on traditional marketing as well. All of our students who are our customers, they all attend school, and so we just let them know that we're offering a Sticky Fingers cooking class, and their parents sign up. And, you know, we have repeat customers at Sticky Fingers Cooking, kids that have taken our classes for years and years and years, and they never repeat a recipe. We have the same thing at Barolo Grills, you know, really leading a business that you want to work in, that you feel passionate about, that you're making sure that every detail is taken care of and that your staff feels equally as excited. I don't think that there's anything better.
You put a smile on my face. Coming from a person that really just care, I'm constantly doing marketing and advertising for multiple different businesses and trying to figure out how do you break through the mold where you don't have to spend anymore. You don't have to be in a position where you have to constantly pay to acquire a customer. And the real answer behind that is that you have to build a product and a business that leaves a mark so strong that they tell their friends and they tell their friends, and the referrals and word of mouth start flooding into the business. And that doesn't come from good advertising. That doesn't come from a good brand recognition. That is coming from the service that you deliver, what they actually get for the value that they're paying for. So absolutely beautiful. And I think it's such a powerful statement. I understand this backstory now, loving the history of all this, understanding a little bit where you are, would like to understand where you're going, would like to understand kind of where you're taking these businesses, both the Sticky Fingers Cooking School as well as Barolo Grill. Do you guys have a projection or an idea of where you want to go into the next 1 to 3 years?
Well, Barolo Grill, we're going to just maintain our beautiful trajectory. Since Ryan has taken ownership and taken the reins of Barolo Grill, it's just skyrocketed every year, year after year. It's we have a better year than the last with people, and it's the same four walls. So that's pretty. That's pretty. So you know, Barolo is going to be staying as Barolo. You know, during prior to COVID, we did open up another restaurant in downtown Denver, and we lost it during COVID. And it taught us, it's like every decision and every action has an equal and opposite reaction. And there's always a shadow side and there's always a dark side and a light side to everything. And one of the things for losing that restaurant, as difficult as it was and as painful as it was, it also taught us a lesson that my husband Ryan and myself, that we love having one restaurant, and we're not somebody that we're not a team that wants to have multiple restaurants. That really putting all of our energy and making one restaurant the best it can be is really our focus. On the opposite end of that is Sticky Fingers Cooking, which was always built to grow and to scale, because what we do is so important. Teaching kids essential life skills, how to cook, how to eat. And it was always something that I knew that if we got the formula down right, that it could scale and grow. And so we, as a privately held company, we organically grew into 3 states, into 3 major markets. So we had lots of employees in lots of different states. We were developing our technology, making sure that our systems were fine. And I'm going to bring up COVID again. COVID had every school in the world shut down. And as terrifying as that was for everybody, and then personally for me, seeing everything that me and my team built kind of come to a bit of a halt, we immediately started teaching kids online. We immediately started creating cookbooks. And so we've published like 5 cookbooks in 2 years. And, it was again, the light side and the shadow side to every moment in your life or every decision in your life. It was a time for all of us to reflect, and especially me. I really was able to look back and see everything that we built. And I think as entrepreneurs and business leaders and business owners, we often are so looking ahead that we never really look back. And so COVID gave me a time to kind of look back, and I started looking into women business ownership in the US. And I was horrified. I looked at statistics and I was absolutely horrified. I mean, I already knew, I bootstrap Sticky Fingers Cooking. Women can't get, they're not getting venture capital money. They're not getting loans. But then I looked into business ownership, and we only own it's 41% of the businesses in the US, but less than 2% of women-owned businesses gross over $1 million a year. And my jaw fell on the floor when I read that statistic. I couldn't believe it. Less than 2% of women have access to capital to start a business. And I thought, wait a second, I had no idea. So my long-winded response to your question is where Sticky Fingers is going is that's how we decided to franchise. I started looking at the franchise model, and, the franchise model is beautiful when it's done well. And if you do it with intention, and if you do it with service and with gratitude and hospitality, and it's all about relationships, because our franchise owners, they follow our systems, they become wildly successful. Our success is their success, and their success is our success. And you already mentioned, Kyle, in our previous previous question, that nobody's going to work as hard as business owners. I know that. You know that. My husband knows that. And that's why I fell in love with the franchise model, because we could grow Sticky Fingers Cooking. We have our systems airtight. They are beyond great. And we know that we can open up anywhere in the US and it'll run beautifully. So if we can also create new business owners, and with a focus of female business owners, that's a win-win for me. And that's really where Sticky Fingers Cooking is going. So I'm as passionate about teaching kids how to cook as I am creating small business owners. And we started franchising. It'll be 2 years ago next week. And we have 13 open territories in 8 states and 9 franchise owners. So we're thrilled.
My jaw dropped as well when you were saying those statistics. I was unaware. Incredible. But again, the passion is shining through. The fact that you care that much about the development and to see an opportunity that, okay, you created a system, it works really, really well. You created something beautiful that helps younger generations develop and learn cooking, but then also seeing the hole in the market of the fact that these female business owners are not getting the due opportunity and due respect that they deserve. And then you had a product that was absolutely perfect for them. So if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a business owner, or if you're looking to be an entrepreneur and you are a female and you love cooking, make sure you reach out to Erin. I would love to hear about the process there. We'll hit that a little bit at the end of how they can connect with you. But that is such a beautiful door opening opportunity because you're 100% correct. The franchise model is beautiful when done correctly. I've seen a lot of them done incorrectly. And it's basically like, hey, take our concept and good luck. And that's really not the best way to go about franchising. But it sounds like, and I can hear it from the passion just coming through the interview right now, that when you connect with someone, you're really making sure that their hand is held and they're doing things the right way to create the right systems to develop a profitable and scalable business that really supports their desires, their goals, and supports the world around them, which is just absolutely beautiful.
Absolutely. Going back to starting a business that having a business that only I would want to work in, is that's what we offer our franchise owners because we understand, 75% of our franchise owners are women and 100% of them are moms. So they are running their business successfully from their kitchen table. So they're running a remote staff of teams of Sticky Fingers cooking chef instructors, and they're able to manage their entire operation from their home.
Yeah, absolutely love that. Yeah, we're going to get into your content information after just a few more questions. I got two more questions for you, and then I would love to hear how they can get connected with you. This next one is specifically you as an entrepreneur and development through these two major businesses that you created. I know you have some other ventures that you went through throughout time, but the one thing that always makes us as strong entrepreneurs and what gets us through the fires of entrepreneurship, because as you mentioned before, especially in the restaurant space, you have about an 89% failure rate within the first 5 years. And to build something that has last 30 years is extremely powerful. So when you look back into your past and you look into your history, is there a failure or a challenge that you went through that really defined how you're going to operate going forward, something that you faced that just gave you a new mentality that you could share with our listeners here today so that they can learn from the knowledge that in the fires that you've already had to trudge through?
Kyle, I can think of like 100 failures that I've had. I mean, that's really that's the golden nugget right there. Is that that's why they call it growing pain because to grow it's uncomfortable and it hurt a little bit. So every time you have a failure, you can just change it into an opportunity to learn and to grow. So, I had mentioned that my husband and I had been involved in different businesses. We always, up until Sticky Fingers Cooking and purchasing Barolo Grill, we always had some partners because we didn't come from money. We didn't have access to capital. So we always started with partners, and we learned, the hard way that that didn't always go well. So we made a concerted effort to grow our businesses and to be able to purchase Barolo, to be able to start Sticky Fingers Cooking with only using our funds and putting every penny back into it. So, that's not how you have to build every business, but that's what we decided to do. And for us, it's worked really, really well. And then, I mentioned COVID. COVID was awful. We thought that we were so smart. We thought that we were so diversified with having a restaurant, which is, as they say, the second oldest business in the world, by having a restaurant that brick and mortar, it's safe, had tried and true longevity. And then here I am from our kitchen table creating this wild new idea that's never been done before. There was no path to follow. And it's a bit limitless, right? There are no walls. We don't have any walls. So we thought that we were just really smart and very diversified in our choices of businesses. But during COVID, every restaurant shut down in the world and every school shut down. So it really gave that was probably the biggest learning for me personally and for my husband to really realize what works well for us and what we want to focus on.
I love that. Just during that COVID time, just to hit that on a little bit harder, during that COVID time, obviously you got pushed back on both the restaurant and the entire school. What was the biggest thing? Was it the passion that came out of that? Was it the confidence that came out of that moment of like, I know for a fact, hell or high water, this is what I want to do? Is there a specific thing that came out of that difficult time that you want to distill to the listeners here to give them the perspective they need to find success?
Yeah, well, fear can be a beautiful thing. Fear and massive stress. I mean, what is it? How does a diamond, how does that get created? With massive amounts of stress, and you get a diamond out of it. So, you have to have passion. I agree with you, Kyle. I mean, you have to have passion in what you're doing. You have to really like what you're doing. You have to really, really believe in what you're doing. And that's going to give you the energy to keep going day after day and give you that grit that you need. And so, yes, I mean, I personally became more creative than I ever had been when I had these restraints of COVID with Sticky Fingers Cooking. Like, how are we going to continue to do what we're doing? I mean, I'm thrilled we were able to keep our executive team fully engaged and fully employed through the entire pandemic. And now we're making lemon out of lemonade. Or lemon, sorry, let's say that again. Making lemonade out of lemons. So, it's really fueled our growth in so many ways. And honestly for Barolo Grill as well. Barolo is such a steadfast institution here in Colorado that people just keep coming back again and again. And the loyalty and the outpouring of love that we got from the community during COVID really kept us going and has kept us going ever since.
Love it. They just incredible story, incredible just process that you've gone through. And then to hear kind of your training process of going through with your husband and developing who you are and what you want to go after, and then hitting the difficulties. And I use that quote all the time, pressure makes diamonds, right? You just have to have the right structure to make sure that you're not dust, right? And that comes from your experiences, that comes from understanding who you are and really what you want to go after. And that's where the confidence and the passion all comes from. Erin, such a beautiful story. Thank you so much for sharing it. I have one final question for you. Have you ever heard the term Kaizen?
I have, from the Art of War, right?
Yes, awesome. You are the first person to actually quote it where I first found it, which was the Art of War. For the listeners out there, Kaizen is a Japanese business philosophy that means 1% progression every single day in both business and in self. My question to you, Erin, is how do you find your Kaizen? What are you doing to stay on the cutting edge of your school? What are you doing to stay on the cutting edge of how you treat your employees? What are you doing on a personal level to make sure that you are the best entrepreneur that you can be and you're constantly improving 1% every day?
Well, I love the concept of 1%, because it feels bite-sized and it feels edible and it feels like something that you can do. I mean, whether it's going 1% in your curiosity and learning something new. I'm somebody that's forever curious. I'm always going to be curious. I'm always going to want to learn something new. And so that's something that feeds me. When I'm walking the dog or doing the dishes, I'm listening to podcasts. I'm learning something new and interesting. In my business, I'm really self-aware. Well, maybe my team wouldn't say that, but I'm going to say that I'm very self-aware. And, once I find myself going down a rabbit hole of being too focused on one thing, I kind of like to take a 30,000-foot view and really look at the organization as a whole. And so one of the things that I've recently done is I'm getting back into the classroom once a week. I'm getting back in to see the kids and the recipes that we've developed and help out. And so that is something that really fuels me, because it's really easy when you're building a business to kind of forget your why, and why you're doing something is everything. Why you're in, that's the only way to be intentional is in life, is to know your why. And for Sticky Fingers Cooking, it's why we do what we do is that we're teaching kids how to cook. So I was like, well, that's easy. I need to get back in the classroom. And that just ignites something new in me. On a personal level, it's a challenge when you're starting a business. I mean, I've done everything from like at the beginning of Sticky Fingers Cooking and cash flow and I wanted to like hawk my wedding ring for payroll once. You're doing all of these things to try to keep afloat, and you often lose sight of what you need for yourself. And I have done that for 14 years, a multitude of times. And so what fuels me is that I go to yoga every single day. I try to journal. I'm not great at it, but I try to journal every day, even for 5 minutes. I really try to set an intentional balance for my life.
I love that. So taking care of yourself as well as being very involved in what you're doing every day so you can understand that why. As Simon Sinek would say, it is the reason behind all of success. And it's the reason behind what you do and how you do it. It all starts with the why. So Erin, thank you so much for the time. This was an incredible story to hear, and I hope our listeners absolutely appreciate every part of it. If the listeners want to get connected with you, maybe they want to get one of their kids into your schools, or if they want to try your amazing food at Barolo, how are they able to get in contact with you? What's the best way to get in touch with you?
Yeah, if you're interested in coming to Barolo Grill in Denver, the website is barologrilldenver.com. And if you're interested in Sticky Fingers cooking, we have stickyfingerscooking.com. You'll see all of our locations coast to coast. We're growing every single month. And we also have a wonderful resource for families. About 1,200 of our recipes are up online, so you can kind of see what we do in the classroom and cook up some fun at home. For anybody that's interested in the franchise opportunity, you can look at stickyfingerscookingfranchise.com. That is a mouthful of a URL, but you'll find us there. And if you wanted to connect with me one-on-one, fun fact, I'm the only Erin Fletter on the internet. And you can find me on LinkedIn or on ErinFletter.com.
Erin Fletter, truly one of a kind. Absolutely love it. All the information that you guys just heard will be found below in the description. If you finish this video, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Erin, thank you so much for your time. And for the listeners, we'll see you on the next Kaizen podcast.